Hey everybody, John Early here, co-founder of Momentum Collective, and just really excited to drop in a little bit further with the announcements that we are running our Circus Island, Nicaragua retreat residency coming up this January, February, and March, as well alongside at the same time our green residency, a new concept at Punta Mona, amazing permaculture grounds in Costa Rica as well. With that, we are going to be talking today with Etienne Paquette Prevost, who's going to be their part sharing his knowledge in vegan cuisine and the theory behind it. He's the founder of Kilukru in Quebec, and we're going to dive into some conversation with him right now. Etienne, how are you doing, brother?
Super good. And you?
Really good, man. I'm really excited to get these ideas planted out there in the world and share some of the knowledge from our artist residency concept, the permaculture aspect, as well as clean and living eating, and that's a big part of what you do. So give us a little bit of a background and your purpose of how you founded Kilukru.
So we founded Kilukru. Well, actually, we had a vegan food truck back in the days, something like 4 or 5 years ago, and a lot of people were constantly asking us questions about alimentation and how we did our transition to more healthy food and how to cook these things. So we're like, okay, it's fun, to serve people and to, bring vegan food to the world. But we feel like, well, I founded the food truck with my sister, which is also with me in the business Kilukru. And we felt like what we really had to give to the world was more our knowledge about how we did our transition, how we took off, certain things out of our diet and what we bring in our diet, and all this knowledge of behind the, only the cooking and the recipes. So we kind of realized that, and after, while we had the food truck, we had the chance to design the menu of a restaurant. So we did that, and with all that knowledge, it kind of became a little bit I don't know, like normal for us to want to go online, because we wanted also to have a business that was more, that we could travel with, and we could, be anywhere in the world and work with that. So it kind of became natural to think about the online course, and a lot of people were constantly asking me questions when I was traveling. And in Thailand, I started writing down the basic of the online course, asking a lot of people what they would want to learn about that. So that's a bit how Kilukru was founded. And now we have this online course. Right now it's only in French, but we have the plan to put it in English and in Spanish also in the next few years. So yeah, that's pretty much what we do. We teach to people how to make the change that they want to do. So there's not like, okay, you have to be vegan or you have to do this or that. We just give, like a suggestion on, try to take this out of your diet for, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks, and see after, when you take it back in your diet, let's say for dairy product, when you take it back in your diet, how does your body feel? What's the sensation inside of your body? And do you like it or do you not like it? And from that point, then you can take a decision by not only listening to what other people say about that, but also about what you feel inside your body. So that's really, that's how we like to work with people.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, because I feel a lot of the vegan culture is kind of built around guilt, and it's built around like, you shouldn't, and that if you eliminate that, let's just say, hey, what are you eating that makes you feel good? And the chances are more of it's going to be on the fresh produce, the living foods, a vegan diet. And not saying that you have to live by that, and if you eat meat, you're, this and that. I feel like that's a much more open and reasonable approach for a lot of people to start incorporating these concepts into their diet and going from there. I'm curious if you have, what do you feel are some of the most common misconceptions people have around vegan cooking?
Well, I mean, of course, there's the whole thing, the whole protein thing, that I feel like is a big misconception. Actually, I really think that that having a heavy protein diet that comes from animal, not necessarily from a vegan plant-based source, can be something that's quite dangerous for the human body. And I think that it's a big myth that's going around. And in our course, we interviewed shit, I forgot the word in English, un médecin. So how you say that in English? I don't remember. Someone
okay.
that's
It's okay. Yeah.
whatever. Some a doctor. We interviewed a doctor asking her about the protein. Could someone on a vegan diet have protein, issues? And the answer was no. You really need to be eating only, I don't know, rice for 1 year to have these kinds of problems. So protein is really a big myth that is stopping a lot of people to go towards that. Another big myth that I think that is a big problem is about the fruits. A lot of people think that they shouldn't eat too much fruit because there's a lot of sugar in it. And it's a big myth because, fruit that is, processed is a complex sugar, and a classic fruit is a simple sugar, and it's completely different on how you absorb it in your body. So I think that's another big misconception that people think, you shouldn't eat too much fruit or this and that. I think that you should eat as many fruits as you can, and you should eat, a lot of fresh things, like you say. And another misconception, I think, is about soy. That's a big issue that I see a lot of people switching from classic diet and switching all their how to say that, all their meat or their dairy product by soy product. And soy, I mean, it's not really something that we should put as human being in our body. It's super GMO processed with a lot of pesticide, and it's super, it has a really high acidity level inside of it. So there's a lot of little things in soy that can be really dangerous. I don't say that if you eat it, 4 or 5 times a year or something like that, that is going to be dangerous for your body, or even if you eat it, I don't know, 1 or 2 times a month. But we don't really realize it. But in soy sauce, in the miso, in the tempeh, in the, there's a lot of soy everywhere. And when you switch from a classic diet to something more plant-based, a lot of people do this big mistake. And the problem is not that you put the soy in your body. Yes, it's a problem, but the big problem is that you don't put enough fresh stuff in the body. And that's another big issue that I see in the whole transition thing right now.
Yeah, those are really great topics, and I know you'll be diving into those a lot more closely at the Green Residency in Punta Mona, which is also the home of all the fruits, all the exotic fruits. I know Stephen Brooks has been planting just some amazing things. When I was there, it was incredible, the amounts of fruits that just don't travel well, so you aren't really able to try them elsewhere. It's really only in the tropical regions that they're grown into. So and you haven't been to Punta Mona yet, have you?
No, I haven't been to Punta Mona, but I know what you're talking about when you talk about these exotic fruits, like, we talk about sempedak, we talk about the jackfruit, we talk about the durian, all these fruits that are more dense, these fruits that, when people talk about, I'm not personally a frugivore, so I don't eat, 100% fruit, but I'm going towards that. It's not my goal either to just eat fruits, but I love to have a lot of fruit in my diet. And I feel like in these lands, in Punta Mona, there are these fruits, that you can eat that are more dense, that really satisfy your body. It's not only purely water. It feels, they're a bit more fat, they're a bit more consistent. So it really feels, like when you're eating a big burger and you're like, oh, I'm full, Well, sometimes you eat these big exotic fruits and you have this kind of sensation, but in a good way, where you're like, oh, I'm full, I'm like, okay, I'm really satisfied right now. I don't need to eat more, So I haven't been to Punta Mona yet, but I'm really excited to see the variety of exotic food they got to offer there.
Yeah, absolutely. Bringing that up, I have met a few more people that are being the fruitarian. So as a nutritionist, do you feel that you get all the nutrients from being a fruitarian, or are you still lacking some things that a vegetable or a grain or a starch that you're needing?
So first of all, I'm not a nutritionist, and I don't have any of these titles. All that I have is my own experience on my body. I did a lot of research, and I'm following the school of Dr. Morse. So that's the knowledge from where I'm getting, all my knowledge on detoxification and all that. And what I would say is, it's the same thing as the myth of the protein. So it's, and I would even say, the myth of, you eat a lot of carrots and it's going to be good for your eyes. It's all on that same level. I think fruits got the most nutrient and minerals that you can have in any food. Well, also, if you go there, if you eat from, the place where the fruits are grown, and they're grown, to maturity, and they're not, sleeping for 1 year in a big commercial fridge, and all these things that makes a fruit degrade in quality. But of course, even then the fruit that we have here, let's say in Quebec, they still have, a really high level of nutrient and minerals and all these things that we need to be fulfilled. And I think that, yes, you would have all the nutrients that you need in fruits, and that would not be an issue. Actually, it would be quite the opposite. Eating other kinds of food that don't really have, a good amount of nutrients and minerals, that could cause your body to be in a lack of all these nutrients. Well, what I wanted to say is kind of an example of the opposite. People come to me and they say, Etienne, I'm always hungry. I feel like I always need to eat. And these people, the solution that I give to them is, well, start integrating 1 liter of smoothie made from fruit every day, and that's where they start feeling better. They start feeling like, oh wow, I've got more energy. Oh wow, sometimes I don't feel like as hungry anymore. I feel like I'm good to go, and I feel a bit lighter. So it's quite of this opposite concept that the society tried to push on us. And I think that, yeah, we can have everything that we need from fruits. It's not a saying that, you need to eat only that. I mean, greens and vegetables are super important too. And also seeds and nuts, it's important to have a balance in all of that. But yeah, fruits are great.
I agree. Well, speaking of nutrition, how do you feel nutrition affects the energy body and things like cellular regeneration and aspects of that beyond just feeling full?
Well, it's a good question. I think there's a big misconception right now in society that well, first of all, we can start by this thing that we all have, eating 3 times a day, like clockwise, not listening to our body, and just putting food in without even first knowing what's in there, how it's been processed, all these things, So I think most of the food that we eat are really nutritionally poor, So I think it's really important to start integrating more nutrient-rich food, because at some point, what it does, what the effect of that is, when you feel hunger, and when I was a kid, I'm gonna talk about my own experience. When I was a kid, I was feeling, this hunger, but really, really strong, and it would really affect me emotionally. It would take my whole space, my whole mind space and emotional space would be taken by, I need to eat. And as soon as I would put food in my body, it would be okay, but only for some time, only until the next crisis, only until it was digested and say it again, and my body would say again, I'm hungry. But it's not really saying I'm hungry, it's saying I need nutrient. And we got confused a bit in this sense, where we feel like we need to put food, but actually most of the food that most people put in their body, it's not really food. There's really nothing in there. So we put food, and as soon as it's digested, well, the body is crying again, I need nutrients. So how do we figure that problem? Well, it's always the same answer, and I know it's always the same answer, but it's so simple. The answer is, it's fruits and it's vegetable and it's living things. We have this tendency to cook everything, and when we cook stuff, we kill the enzyme, and it's more difficult for our body to, grab these nutrients from the food. And we have a tendency to eat a lot of things that, like, let's say wheat. You would not go naturally in a field of wheat and start eating that thing. It needs to be processed. It needs to be, dried and then grinded and then put into a bread and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that, our human body is a great machine. We can take all these elements and we can, process them and take energy from that, but it doesn't mean that it's what our body is made to eat. So, and all these food that we put in our body that are not necessarily, the top food, but well, it has a consequence on our body, because, as soon as you put something that is acidic in your body, well, your body's got to protect itself, so you don't feel it on a day-to-day basis, but on long term, these food that we consume, that are acid based, and we can talk about it, like meat and dairy products and all the grains by being wheat and rice and yeah, all the grains, not the seeds though, chia seeds and buckwheat and quinoa. It's on another side of chemistry, but all the acidity grains, and it's kind of sneaky, and that's what creates all the illness, in the world that we see right now, because the body's got to store it somewhere. It takes the acidity and it puts it somewhere, and at some point, this acidity creates this cellular degeneration, and the body is well made. It takes these cells that are, somehow rotting because of the acidity, and it stores them, either into glands, either into, some part of some organs, and it stores it there to protect the body. But at one point, it's too much, and that's what we call cancer. That's what we call, some organ failures, or all these sickness that we give name to. It's only because we put stuff in our body that we're not supposed to put in. So I don't know if I went a bit too far on that question, but I think I tried to round it up. Yeah.
I think that's a great, just reformatting that, when you're getting food cravings, you're really getting nutrition cravings. You're changing that mindset and knowing that foods that are so much more readily stored energy, like fruits, that it's instant energy, right? And it's minimal digestion that's needed. And so much of our energy, I think I remember reading, up to 80% of the energy of our body goes towards digesting food. So when you're able to digest fruit that much faster and you're still getting much more nutrient bang for your buck, then you have that much more energy for your day, for your practice, for your energy body, for your cellular regeneration and all of that. So I think that all of that makes perfect sense. So yeah.
Great wrap up. That was a good one.
One more quick question. What do you feel like, we're this post-COVID stuff, and during COVID, it's kind of a crazy time. And I feel like that's why we need to come back together more than ever in a community, in a safe way, obviously. And kind of that's what our intention is, to create a month community container so that we can still uplift each other. But we need to come together more than ever to share these ideas, inspire each other, and connect with the earth, or how our connection with our food, our water, how we grow and build families and communities on the earth. So what do you feel like moving into that for our residency season? What do you feel like, how do you see the new earth? What's exciting to you about these days post-COVID?
I think that there's only one sentence that comes to my mind when you ask me this question. It's go back to nature. Go back to the natural way of living. So that sentence can apply itself to a lot of things, It can apply to your food. It can apply to, the natural way of being outside in nature, with nature. By trees, seeing nature. It can apply also, I know it's more difficult for us right now in Canada, it's becoming a bit cold, but, we lost this connection. We walk also always on concrete, and it's a bit, we lose this, direct energy from the earth. So walking barefoot as much as you can outside, it's a great way also to go back to nature. And also going back to nature in the sense that technology is great. I use it, and I mean, it's super nice to share knowledge, but just being aware that technology can be used as a tool and also can be used as distraction. And it's fake light and all these things. So going back to nature as, taking sunlight, making sure that everything that you put in or on your body is something that is natural, not something that's super processed or something that's, completely chemical, and make sure that the water you drink is clean, all these things that, that we kind of lost in going to Babylon, going in the cities and all these things, So I'm not saying, make all these change all at once, just start being aware of that. And if you feel the call to go back to the natural way of living, well, take the chance. It's right now, it's happening. So take the chance. We always have a chance. You can see this COVID thing as a good thing or a bad thing, oh, there's all these things happening, or, oh, I'm going to take the opportunity and I'm going to start bettering myself with this, and I'm going to, really work on what I feel I need to do. So I feel that's really what we're going to do back there in Momentum, in the Green Residency is, training the body, it's taking care of ourselves, learning about all these things, how to make our body as well as we can. And also the big subject is building communities. Of course, me, Gabriel, and Julien were all in this conversation, about buying lands eventually in Costa Rica and these things, growing fruit farms and stuff like that. And we're going to talk about these subjects over there. And we're going to, start layering, these plans that we have for our own land, and also for other people that want to do similar projects. So I think that's really something that I felt like sharing. I don't know if I answered exactly the question you were asking. Maybe I went a bit offshore, but what was that?
Man, we are the new Earth. We got to show up. That's just all
exactly
it comes back to. It's just time for us to show up, and we're excited for you to show up at our Green Residency and within the Momentum community, and to help bring some of these concepts and ideas to Punta Mona and share that insight across the board. So we're really excited in general to just dive more into permaculture and smart eating, living foods, connection with nature across all of our residencies. So thank you for helping bridge that.
Thank you, John.
And yeah, so if people are interested in checking out some more of your information, Kilukru, so that's KILUKRU.ca, correct?
That's right. Yep.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to drop in with us. I'm really excited for the countdown to get back down to Central America, and we're really honored to have you part of our family and community growing forward.
Thank you, Johnny. Nice to meet you.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.